My dear friends, we continue with our series dubbed Reflections on Relationships, Marriage and Family Life with the Lens of Scripture. After having reflected on chapter 1 of the book of Genesis, verse 27b, that is, male and female God created them, we'd like to look at the chapter 1, verse 28a, which says, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply. For this week, we shall focus on the first part, God blessed them. And hopefully next week, look at the second part, which is be fruitful and multiply. What does it mean when scripture says God blessed them? And how relevant is this to our discussion on relationship, marriage and family life? My dear friends, we know that the statement, God bless them, is in the context of the creation story, where God, we know, is the creator. He's the one who created the woman, he's the one who created the man. And now he is blessing them, to mean that he's actually uniting them, to mean that he's actually making them become husband and wife. It is, therefore, this act of blessing that makes the marriage. So biblically, we cannot talk about marriage without the active role of God. And that is why in the Catholic Church, for instance, we talk about the sacrament of holy matrimony. That when people decide to enter into marriage, there's the need for blessing. And for this blessing to be received, the people must come to God in the church so that they will receive it. Take, for instance, what St. Paul says in his letter to the Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25 to 26. Husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word. Now think about this for a moment. The love of the husband is modeled after that of Christ himself, his love for the church. This is divine. How can the human being express this love which is divine when he has not received grace from above? It is definitely impossible. On the day of marriage, there is the exchange of consent. And this exchange of consent is actually the primary element that makes the marriage, where the man and the woman promise love and fidelity till death. And what did he say? I take you to be my lawful partner. I promise to be true to you in good times or in bad, in sickness or in health. I will love you and honor you all the days of my life. Now, when you think about it seriously, the question is, can that love last without divine grace? The human being who is weak, the human being who is fragile, the human being who is selfish, how can he or she enter into love which must endure forever? Jesus says, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So how possible is this when they have not received support or grace from above? Hence the need to seek God's blessing. It is therefore not enough, my dear friends, for us to receive the traditional marriage and end there. It is therefore not enough, my dear friends, for us to receive the civil marriage an end there. When it comes to the traditional marriage, for instance, the man and the woman present themselves to their families, and their families give their consent, so that they are recognized as husband and wife in the eyes of the families. So as when it comes to the civil marriage, the man and the woman present themselves to the state, so that the state can recognize them as husband and wife. When it comes to the sacrament of holy matrimony, it's important that the man and the woman also present themselves to God in the presence of the church, in the church, so that they are recognized as husband and wife. What about when people express the sentiments of having the blessing, for instance, at a beautiful garden or by the beach? What should be the response? My dear friends, ordinarily, the place for this sacrament we know is the church. We do not want to forget the sacredness of the sacrament. It is this sacredness that is protected by the insistence that it must be done in the church. When it comes to blessing, it's important we come to the church, the abode of God, where God dwells, so that he will bless us. Remember, for instance, the prayer that Solomon offered at the time of the dedication of the temple in the book of 1 Kings chapter 8 verse 28 to 30. He says, this is the place that you have decreed to be your dwelling. So if you believe that the church is the dwelling of God, it is therefore important that we come into the church so that God will bless us. My dear friends, let me conclude with Psalm 127, which says, if the Lord does not build a house, in vain we labor. If this is true, then we need God to bless us. If not, we labor in vain. It is the blessing from God that unites. It is the blessing from God that empowers us. It is the blessing from God that nourishes us when we decide to enter into marriage. So we need it. God bless them. Chapter 1 of Genesis, verse 28a. Join me, my dear friends, as we discuss the second part, which is be fruitful and multiply, next week. Have a good week.